A guy I know got promoted last year. Big deal. Years of hard work. His wife took him out to celebrate, just the two of them. Nice restaurant, the whole thing. His coworker found out and said, "Why didn't you post about it? I had to hear it from someone else." And he just shrugged and said, "I was busy actually enjoying it." That one line stuck with me for weeks. Because think about what his coworker was really saying, that an experience isn't fully real until it's been shared, that enjoyment has to be announced to count, that if nobody online knew about the promotion dinner, did it even happen? The guy who got promoted didn't think that way, never has, and people have always found that a little strange about him. There's a certain type of person who just doesn't feel the pull to put their life online. Not because they're unhappy, not because they have something to hide, just because it genuinely doesn't occur to them to reach for their phone when something good happens. Their first instinct is to feel it, not film it. These people exist in every age group, every background, and they've always been looked at slightly sideways for it. But here's the thing. The research is starting to catch up to something they figured out on their own a long time ago. A study in the Journal of Consumer Research found that just planning to share an experience makes you enjoy it less, not after posting, before. The moment you start thinking about how to capture something, part of your brain checks out of actually living it. You've probably felt this without knowing the name for it. You're at a concert, and instead of just listening, you're trying to get a clean video. You're at dinner, and instead of tasting the food, you're getting the angle right. You're technically there, but a piece of you already left. People who don't post never split themselves that way. Whatever they're in, they're fully in it. And the memories they make are deeper because of it, more emotional, more theirs. Now, the people who actively quit social media, that's a slightly different story. A lot of them didn't leave because they were doing great. They left because something cracked. A hard season in life made everyone else's highlight reel feel like a personal attack. They put something real out there and got silence back. Or they realized one day that they'd spent 40 minutes looking at strangers' lives and felt genuinely worse about their own. Leaving wasn't a big decision for most of them. It was just quietly closing a door and not going back. And then a few weeks later, something happened that surprised them. They got quieter inside. Not lonely, not bored, just quieter, like a noise they didn't know they were hearing stopped. And in that silence, they started noticing things they'd been too distracted to notice before. How food tasted, what their own opinion actually was on things, what it felt like to sit somewhere without documenting it. Most of them say the same thing when you ask what they miss about it. They have to think about it for a while, and then they say, "Not much, honestly." What's happening there has a name in psychology. It's called private self-consciousness. It's basically the tendency to pay more attention to what's going on inside you than to how you're coming across to everyone else. People like this aren't antisocial. They're not cold. They just process life inward first before they ever think about broadcasting it outward. In a world that's been almost entirely built around broadcasting, that can feel like a defect. But here's what private self-consciousness actually produces. Over time, with enough of it, you build a sense of self that doesn't need outside input to stay stable. You don't need the likes to feel like the night was good. You don't need the comments to know your own opinion. You already know what you think because you've actually been paying attention to yourself. That kind of stability is rarer than people realize. Most people are quietly seeking confirmation almost constantly without even knowing it. There is a cost to this, and it's worth being honest about. When you step back from online life, you get harder to keep up with. The passive, easy version of staying connected just disappears. Some people who felt like friends turn out to have just been audience members, and losing that stings a bit even when it makes sense. But what's left behind is something different. The people who make actual effort, who reach out directly, who remember things and check in and show up when it matters. That group turns out to be smaller but a completely different weight. An 80-year Harvard study found that close relationship quality is one of the biggest predictors of how well your life actually goes. Not your follower count, not your reach, the depth of the handful of people who actually know you. There are people who remember life before all of this. They say it felt more like theirs, not better in every way, but like they owned their own experience in a way that's hard to describe to someone who's always had a camera in their pocket. An evening out was just an evening out. A good meal was just a good meal.
Nothing had to become content. Nothing had to be approved by strangers to count as real. Younger generations are having to rebuild that from scratch now, actively teach themselves to put the phone down and just be somewhere. It takes real effort because the pull in the other direction is constant. The people who never lost that ability or who found their way back to it carry something visible. You can feel it when you're with them. They're just there, completely. Nothing in them is somewhere else. That's not just a nice quality to have. That's actually the whole thing. That's what presence means. And in a world where genuine presence has become genuinely rare, it might be the most valuable thing a person can offer. So if you've always been this way and never understood why it made people uncomfortable, if you left and nobody quite got it, if you just always felt like your life was something to be lived rather than something to be seen, you weren't the problem. You were just early. If this made sense to you, share it with someone who needs it. My other videos are on screen right now if you want to go deeper on this stuff. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss an upload. And if you want to support the channel, the join button is right there. Genuinely appreciated.